Heavyweight matchup at the World Cup where France is moving on to the semifinals after a nail-biting 2-1 win over England. Olivier Giroud's header in the 78th minute won it for the French, who are trying to become the first repeat champions in this event since Brazil in 1962. England had a golden opportunity for a late equalizer, but Harry Kane's penalty kick skied over the net. France will go on to face Morocco now on Wednesday for a spot in the final. Here is a look at your full match stats, where England had the greater share of possession. They had more shots on target, and way more expected goals, 2.5 to just under 1 for the French. But that is not what matters. The scoreboard matters, and it reads France 2, England 1. And for more on England-France and the aftermath, we welcome in CBS Sports soccer insider Jonathan Johnson, who joins us from Paris. Jonathan, let's talk about the victors first. The French, the defending champions, into the semifinals, not without a little bit of consternation, thanks to England in this game. But how are the French living up to expectations here?
I think this is a big step for the French in their potential title defense. Certainly the most difficult opponent that they've come up against so far. Rode their luck at times as well during the game, but took their opportunities when they came along. I think that Antoine Griezmann dropped a potentially tournament-defining performance individually for the French. Created the two goal-scoring opportunities for his team. And I think many people have felt like the winner of this game was going to go all the way to win the World Cup. And I think when you look at the way that the draw has opened up, sort of the weaknesses that teams have shown, it really does feel like pretty much anybody's tournament. But it is a huge semi-final now for France, a big opportunity to get back to the final. And obviously, a match that is just so rich with narrative as well, coming up against Morocco with such a massive Moroccan community in France and Paris in particular. I've heard them on the streets in the build-up to this game, and I can tell you that this was the matchup they were hoping for.
Well, this was certainly not the result that England were hoping for, and more misery from the penalty spot again for England. Harry Kane makes his first, misses the second. What happens to Harry Kane at home in England right now? I almost feel for what's about to come to Harry online, especially from the keyboard warriors.
I think there's going to be a lot of disappointment, obviously. Naturally, I think, in terms of sort of Kane individually, I do think that a lot of anger will be directed at the refereeing performance, which I must say was disappointing, quite in line with quite a few of the refereeing performances that we've seen in recent days of the World Cup. But ultimately, I think that once again, England falls short with a squad that is equipped to win major international tournaments. And I think at some point, questions have to be asked of the management. I think Gareth Southgate has done an admirable job. He has taken England as far as he can, but that far is not far enough as far as England fans will be concerned. They will feel that they had a good shot at winning the Euros on home soil last summer. Obviously, Euro 2020 got delayed because of COVID, and they will feel that they had a good shot at the World Cup here. So I don't think that necessarily Harry Kane will be hung out, to dry because of his penalty miss here. I do think that there are other mitigating factors, but there will be a big sense of frustration for sure, within the Three Lions camp.
Well, let's look forward to the games that are still to come from Qatar and the FIFA World Cup. You have France taking on the Cinderella team of this tournament, Morocco, who continue to figure out ways to win. And as you mentioned, a very much anticipated match on both sides within France itself. How do you handicap that match?
Honestly, I think that Morocco have done so much to get here. It is truly admirable, as you said. I think so many of the players were prepared to put their bodies on the line. Look at the captain, Romain Saïss. I think that ultimately this is probably where the Cinderella story will end. But the fact is, history has already been made by Morocco. France were arguably expected to get to the semi-finals, if not better. So, I do think that there will be a sense of perhaps logic coming into this one that France should win, although they will be missing important players. Tchouameni, who scored the first goal against England, picked up a second booking, so he will be suspended for that clash with Morocco. But it does feel like France will probably shade this and be, the team advancing to the final at the end of 90, 120 minutes or penalties, wherever it goes. I do think it'll be tight, and it will be hotly contested as well. But I do feel ultimately that France will reach the final at the end of that game.
All right, and on the other side, you have Argentina and Croatia. Croatia, I feel like people aren't talking about enough, is the defending finalists. They were in the finals of the last World Cup. We're one match away on either side from a World Cup final rematch. Croatia is not a team you want to face in penalties. This would appear to be the last and maybe best chance for Lionel Messi to finally bring a World Cup home to Argentina. How do you look at that matchup between Argentina and Croatia in the other semi?
Yeah, I mean, this one is really, really tight one to call, perhaps even tighter than France-Morocco. Obviously, the narrative is written for Lionel Messi to lead Argentina to the final, and potentially go up against PSG teammate Kylian Mbappe, but also at the same time, Croatia, they're mentality monsters. I mean, you look at, some of these performances, individual performances, fantastic character shown once again, quite often going to penalties, as was the case in 2018. It's really, really difficult to write them off. For me, I actually think that probably the most intelligent bit of analysis I can give for this game is that it probably won't be over after 90 minutes. I could see both teams maybe scoring once, a bit like the Brazil game, but in 90 minutes, and potentially getting decided in extra time, if not penalties. I think Croatia, the longer that they keep a team tight to them, and they keep that scoreline very, very narrow, they feel at home. They feel like they grow in terms of their strength. So I think that, Croatia will be Argentina's biggest threat now to potentially going all the way and winning this. And I think Argentina against the Dutch showed, that they can be quite easily riled in terms of mentality. And if there's one team that you don't want to come up against in this tournament, in terms of, potentially getting beaten mentality-wise, that's certainly Croatia.
All right, well, Argentina and France will be favored in their semifinal matchups. France is the overall favorite to win the World Cup right now. Argentina, the second best bet. Who's your best bet to win the World Cup and why?
Well, my pre-tournament pick was Argentina to win and Lionel Messi to finally get his hands on the World Cup trophy. So I guess I'd be a bit of a hypocrite if I changed my opinion now, despite the fact that obviously, I do live and work in France and have covered the team over the best part of the last 10 years. I'd say Argentina probably just shade it for me, but I really think that if it does end up being a France-Argentina final, it will be a very, very close call once again.
I will say, as a neutral, it has been an incredibly fun World Cup to watch, and it figures to be even more fun moving forward. CBS Sports soccer insider Jonathan Johnson, thank you so much. And here's a look at the updated bracket with Morocco upsetting Portugal earlier in the day Saturday, and France overcoming England. It'll be France and Morocco on Wednesday at 2 p.m. Eastern, preceded by Tuesday's first semifinal between Argentina and Croatia, with the winners meeting in the World Cup final the following weekend.
Do you want a sports network that delivers everything that matters about the game? The highlights, the picks, the instant analysis, no yelling, no fake debates, no politics. Hit the subscribe button and never miss a moment.